Welcome, everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I must say that we are fresh off one of the most wonderful experiences that I can remember in recent memory, and that would be the 2023 Nightly News Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And we are here with not only one of our inductees, but two of our previous Hall of Famers. So I am sitting in the Nasir Harris podcast studio with three Hall of Famers from the Nightly News. Of course, the first ever student Nightly News Hall of Famer, Norman Geary. Norman, it is so awesome to have you back on the show. It's been so long since you've been here on campus, and I just can't wait to chat with you.
Thank you, Professor Miller. It was really nice attending the event, and it's also wonderful to be here with everyone as well.
Next is one of our guests of honor today, Yuli Adejo. Yuli, thank you so much for joining us, and not only that, congratulations on being a Nightly News Hall of Famer.
Thank you so much, Miller. I appreciate being able to be honored today as the Nightly News Hall of Famer today.
And Yuli's got the most interesting stories, but before we get to our last guest, I do want you to talk about this. So Yuli had messaged me. You live in Virginia, correct?
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. So in D.C. itself?
Yes.
Okay. So you're coming from D.C., so that's about 2.5 hour drive. And messaged me this morning. She said, Professor Miller, I rented a car and they gave me an electric car. Do they have a charging port on campus? And I said, I don't believe that we do. I was like, but I'm almost positive that like the Wiser Giant complex down there has like, we'll get it. And she's like, well, now I'm going to have to Uber down to campus. And I said, well, we could probably get somebody to pick you up. You don't need to. Did you Uber?
No, I ended up not going there because I checked it. I called them to ask to make sure if they have any charging port. They said yes, but I get there and they were like, I saw none. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to drive back to campus, figure out
Did
later.
it say, I've never driven an electric car. Does it tell you how much charge you have left?
Oh, I only have 40 miles left.
40 miles. We'll find you one.
Yeah, I'm sure there's one in
close.
Chem Hill.
I'm positive there's one. I'm almost positive there's one at the Sheets across the way, but I don't want to get sidetracked. We'll find you one.
Thank you. Yeah.
And of course, lastly, our 2021, one of our Hall of Famers, Sherri Smith. Sherri, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's great to be here, and I really enjoyed that event, and great to see everyone there. It's a wonderful experience.
What was so great about it from my perspective is just having all of you in one place. And what's weird is, everybody that's a Hall of Famer was here sort of at different times. Christine was one of the first, and then like the three of you sort of came in, and then just after you, but also sort of dovetailed with you was Brian and Tyler and Parker. So it's almost like we have, and of course Leslie was in that last little bit. So we are going to, over the next couple of weeks, roll out 3 different episodes of this podcast where we have an opportunity to speak with every single one of our student Hall of Famers. So I'm so excited to talk about that. I'm going to try to take a step back. I really want you guys to just reminisce and talk about some interesting memories of, like, maybe throw out an event and maybe just talk about some of the memories that you had. This might be a little bit different of a format than we're used to, but I do want to kick it off with one specifically. One of the only Hall of Famer that unfortunately we did not get to see today was Nasir Harris. We inducted Nasir in 2021, and his family came over not only for that, but also when we dedicated the podcast studio in his name. Both of you, both Norm and Yuli, were very instrumental in the documentary that we put together about Nasir's life. I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit more about how that documentary came to be and maybe just some memories that you have from that experience.
Well, I remember when we went to the home and Yuli and the rest of the group, talked to the parents. And not only did we talk to the parents, but we kind of gave the parents a life they knew nothing about, because they had no idea all the challenges that Nasir had to deal with. But they didn't even know all the things that he did on the campus. And when they found out what we had told them about his life on campus, they kind of felt a little left out. So we kind of put the puzzle together for them to let them know that their son had a whole nother life outside of what they knew.
Yeah, I think that was a good memories, Norm, for bringing that up. And I remember, I specifically remember with Sai, you kind of being in the background, helping Sai out, and setting up the audio record, setting out the light, and being able to meet his family, how awesome they are, and knowing Nasir, how he's always cheerful too, and he always get his work done. And I remember having class with him, with one of the class with Professor Olympi and stuff like that. So it was nice because he was one of the person who was really excited about the podcast.
I mean, he was the person. I
Yeah.
remember him in a club meeting one time asking us, because he had come from Shippensburg and he'd worked at the radio station. And I remember asking him, like, why can't we do this? Like, he was the one that started asking the questions. He was also the one that was on, like, the first and third episodes with me. They still listen to him all the time, and it meant the world. I don't like listening to them because of how terrible I sounded at the time. But just the fact that that's what's so interesting and unique about what we do and the podcasts and even the video that you did. It's on YouTube. It's not going anywhere. We can watch it for forever. You can relive some of the old podcasts that we did anytime you want. You just go to the YouTube channel and start digging into the archives, and you're going to find some really cool stuff. Well, Sherri, I want to come to you. And one of the things that I mentioned today at the presentation was, frankly, one of the things that not only myself, but club members are most proud of on a term-to-term basis is these quarterly publications that we put together. Now, let me ask you, when you were here, you're obviously a graphic designer, and I thank you so much for these templates because I am not. Although I must say, I think I do okay. I think I've learned publisher enough for well enough to actually do one and make it look okay. But how did that all get started? Like, do you remember how these publications came to be?
I believe it was during a nightly news club meeting. We were talking about how do we get students' articles published. And there was discussion about, do we put it on a flyer or how do we do that? And also for an opportunity for the members to have published their articles. And so I do graphic design, and I said, well, I can take the articles and put them into InDesign and get that designed for you guys. And that's what we did for, I think I did it for 2 years. I'm not quite sure.
So not only did you do it for 2 years, I want to say that you did it for closer to 3, because I want to say you started it your last year here, and then we paid you to do it for 2 years. And then
Yes.
finally, like, yeah, look, I'm not doing this anymore. But graciously helped me, and even my first time around, there was a learning curve for me, and I remember sending you a couple of questions like, Sherri, this one very specific thing, I can't get it to move, and you're like, Paul, it's just right here, boom. It's, so, but you got to remember, if it wasn't for your vision of doing this, like, we wouldn't have these. And even just today, spreading out all of the old publications from literally the last 5 years, I think we started in 17. Some of the really old ones were out of copies of those. I still do have an archive in the library. So any of you Nightly News fans or alumni members out there, every single publication, it will always be in the library special collections. So you can just ask the librarian where the special collections is. You could come here 20 years from now and you will have a fresh copy of the publication.
I will say one thing about the publications was we took that and we handed it out to the faculty. We handed it out to admin for them to look at. And then they started using it to show their potential students. It also really put the Nightly News really on the map. We were everywhere. We were documenting it and we were publishing it. And so that I think that also was very helpful to get an awareness of what we do.
Today, I think it's a situation where the students really like to have it in their portfolio, but honestly, they like to share it with their friends and family. Like, this is what I'm doing at school. And not only is I think that that's really important, but it's also a way for us to continue to expose our students. For example, the Pennsylvania News Media Association Awards. The fact that we've been able, as a small school, to win 5 awards over the past couple of years. It's really remarkable, and a lot of it comes from the publication because, to be honest, Sherri, part of the motivation that we have with our current students is, please turn in a story so you can be in the publication. And I mean, we know that we need 10 good stories to go in that publication and fill that publication, because now we have sort of an obligation to fill it every single term. And again, if it wasn't for you and your vision and your template and your hard work, we wouldn't have that. So again, I just want to thank you so much. And trust me, the day that I sit down to design these is always the worst day of my term. I hate it. I would never want to do it as a career, but I get it done. And fortunately, I have to do it 4 times a year. So, but I do appreciate that. Tell me some of your other favorite memories, Norm. I do remember you were actually the first person to go to the Philadelphia Phillies. And ever since, we have gone, other than the COVID years, we have gone every single year. And in fact, we went this year, and it was the best ever. So tell me a little bit more about your memories of when you went to Here's What's New at the Ballpark with Keith Goods.
I was overwhelmed at the fact that you even asked me to go, because I actually thought when you first brought
You're
up...
a Phillies fan. Of course I'm going to ask you. Who else would I have asked?
But when you mentioned it, it was like, oh my, this can't be real. And then when it actually happened, to walk in and to see all the vendors that were there, and to see Dallas Green and people on the radio show, and just the presence of being a part of the Phillies family blew me away. Now, Keith Good, as dedicated as he was, seemed to get lost between the cheesesteaks and the snacks. And I had to remind him, I said, I do need to take some pictures home for the class, because Professor Miller is actually thinking we're going to write a story on this. And somehow or another, on the way home, he seemed to gather his thoughts. We put together a nice story, and we had some nice pictures. I really wish I were more prepared for the whole outcome, because there were colleges like Temple and some of the larger Philadelphia schools that were there that actually were on the field, were at the game, were talking to players and all of that good thing. And we weren't even prepared for that.
Well,
But
the one thing I will say, though, Norm, is clearly you didn't rub them too much the wrong way. They invited us back.
I have a tendency to talk a lot, and I seem to make good friends with those that make a difference.
Well, no, honestly, like because of that, like I'm looking at a publication right here of when Parker and Brian went down, and we just got to go down this year with Abby and Andrew. I mean, this is like a Central Penn tradition here of our interaction with the Philadelphia Phillies, and it's one that you started.
Well, you kind of set me up for that, and you gave me everything I needed as far as tools to be successful to go there. So it kind of was more like listening to what you told me to do and doing it.
Well, I appreciate that, Norm. You know, Yuli, one of the things that reminded me today about your experience with the club is when we got to volunteer over at the Sapphire Gala with the American Lung Association. I had a picture up there, if you remember. One of the pictures I had on the slideshow that I was showing while we were eating was a picture of you and Kathleen. And I actually still talk to her every once in a while. I actually just emailed with her recently. But seeing that picture just sent back. So for 2 years, one of the things that the club did was we volunteered at the Sapphire Gala for the American Lung Association's largest event of the year. And it was a chance for us to get real dressed up and look really nice, but really to go over and do it sort of a philanthropic thing. You know, what does it mean to you to give back to your community in that sense? I mean, you don't have to talk about the gala itself. I mean, we were just volunteers, and we had a good time, you know?
Yeah.
But I know you are so adamant about volunteering in your community. Tell me what it is about that makes, so important to you.
Yeah, I think that I didn't come from here. So I came from Indonesia, and then I grew up there for like 16 years old, and then I came here to the U.S. It's important for me to give back to the community, and I remember it was through my internship too at the American Lung Association, but...
Yeah, you're the one that set up the whole Sapphire Gala thing.
Yeah, so that was through my internship, and then I was like, okay, well,
She loved you, by the way. She even messaged me probably about a year ago. She's like, do you have any more students like Yuli?
Oh, what?
I'm serious.
And then after my internship and work or volunteering at Nightly News, I was like, well, I graduated, so I have to move on and also find other venue to volunteer. So I ended up volunteering at the LGBT Center, did something similar to like the gala, but more of like a Pride after night, and work on like a little bit of more of like securing giveaway for the people, so it's free, and contacted some other people in the community and everything like that. So I think the point of me doing community hours is a project for me to do, to look forward to also give back to the people who sometimes they don't have people that they can look up to, because sometimes our folks and the younger folks are like, oh, we don't have anybody that is actually care for us and telling us they can do this, they can do that. And I think that's what inspired me at first to be able to do community hours, not just through internship, but then afterward, after school done, I volunteered a little bit for almost roughly 9 months to a year with the LGBT Center of Central PA, just like giving back to the community as also being Asian and queer person. So that's always been really important. And even when I was at college, I promised myself, I don't think I told everybody about this, but like when I was, because I transferred from HAC and then I moved here because I was like, I want to be in the human resources field. And then that transpired and changed when I met with Professor Chow. And then that's when I get to change to my communication major. And then I also have you, Professor Miller, at the class. It was
Well, I had you for more than one class.
I know,
I'll tell you that.
but the first time, my first semester here, I have you with in those Microsoft Excel and Word class.
Yes, Survey of Windows.
Yeah, Survey of Windows. So I forgot what it's called, but it's called Survey of Windows. And I think I promised myself that time when I transfer here, I want to be different. I want to be able to go out and experience different things because, like, I think going back to that first beginning, I didn't grow up here. So I kind of always close myself to myself and don't involve myself with other people who are from different background than me. So when I came to CPC, that was also the reason why I branched out a little bit out of my bubble to be able to get to know more people, get to know more friends, get to know the different culture that's not just Asian, but also the Caucasian, the Black, and everything like that. So that's how I point out, like, being able to also give back to the communities and being with my friends and finding new communities and stuff like that.
I give you so much credit because actually we've had this conversation in the past. My wife went to the same program that you went to. Myself, I obviously went for communication. We're all three got our master's degree from Shippensburg University. So I think that that's always really cool, and I appreciate it. Sherri, what are some other memories that you have?
I was here from April 2016
How do you remember this?
until December 2017.
7 terms.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I just remember because it comes up on my Facebook memories.
Okay.
But one thing, a lot of the memories I have is just being, and even at Central Penn, that, non-traditional student, I just fit in. Like, it wasn't, okay, you're the old lady or something like that. But I know with the first time I came to a nightly news meeting, Norm was there. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, how are you? Come on, sit down here and all this kind of stuff. So it was pretty neat. And so that's just how the club was. It was everyone welcomed, everyone else encouraged. It's like, oh, I want to be in the nightly news, but I'm not a corporate communications major. Doesn't matter. Come on in and join in and explore different areas. And I think that's my memories are being able to try different things, like apply what I was learning, public relations, event planning, media, podcasting, social media. And I was just enjoyed that. And at the thing today, I was reminded about the Bill Gladstone project. And I was like, yes, that was fun. I forgot all about that.
Speaking of which, it's still on the YouTube channel.
Nice.
All you got to do is go on. They're all still there. I saw them not long ago because actually when Adrian was going to leave, I had her on one very last time before she moved on to her new position. And so I wanted to find out how many times Adrian was on. She was on, off the top of my head, I don't remember, but I think it was 64 different podcasts, and we're on episode like 178, right? And I'm flipping through, and there's these Bill Gladstone videos. There's Bill Gladstone's bobblehead that we use sitting here in the studio looking over us. So that was a super memorable thing. And I still, the slideshow I did today, basically I just went through some of the old pictures I had and some of the old pictures online on our Facebook page, and there was a picture of all of you and Keith that the day that Bill came over and we presented them and then we voted on them and you guys got some scholarship dollars. Like that was super cool because that was like the first time that we as a group ever did like sort of a multimedia project. Now listen,
I was able to edit each one.
You
because
had
I had
editing
experience. Yeah. So that was neat just to see each one was different. And just, I think that's one of the strengths of the club is everybody's different, but you put us together and it's a great team. And so That was fun. I forgot all about that. So thanks to
I
Yuli
know.
for bringing that up.
It did just cross my mind recently, but it hadn't occurred to me right there. But please go on the Nightly News Media Club at Central Penn College, and if you scroll back a little bit, there are 3 different videos. I know Nasir was part of one, Lawrence Wilson was part of one. I know Norm, Keith was part of one, Sherri, Yuli. Am I missing anyone?
Christine Hoon.
Yep, she was part of one too. So. Really, really cool, sort of from the inception of the club. Listen, we're running out of time here, and I don't want to keep you any longer. But there is one really important event that I want to look back upon, and it was the open house of the podcast studio when we were in the Boyer House. All 3 of you were part of that, a very integral part. And I actually showed one of my classes that video, my video production class, just as a Cy ended up editing it, and it was awesome. So well done. But it was the type of thing that I wanted my class to do, like go to an event and document it and then put together a video. So I showed that as an example. What was that? 2017, 2018, it's amazing how different we all look. It really is. Even me, even all of us, it's so amazing. That day, I'll never forget it. It was freezing cold.
Yeah.
It snowed. People probably were a little agitated. They had to walk all the way down to the Boyer House in the cold snow. And I remember for some reason or another that the house was so hot. Yes. So it was so warm in the house and so cold outside. But I do remember that was also the first day, if I'm not mistaken, that we previewed the Nasir Harris video when we dedicated the studio. That was a different day, but still down there. We had a bunch of great events down there. We had our first Hall of Fame induction ceremony with Norm. So here's the funny thing, and I want to kind of leave at this. The first year, Norm didn't even know he was actually getting into the Hall of Fame. We surprised him. Obviously, it can't surprise anybody anymore because I'm literally asking you to take off work.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for, Yuli, if you weren't getting in today, I would totally understand that you wouldn't have been able to make the trip from Washington. But the point is how surprised were you when I called you up?
I thought you were, what's that word? That TV show where they do a gag.
I know.
Candid camera or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, I thought it would be either that or you were just poking me. But when I actually found out about it, I was like, what? Really? I was really excited because to just have a group in the club to say you are worthy of being in the Hall of Fame really just floored me. And then when I did the podcast, I'm like, wow, now I'm a starter or a beginner of something that's going to be going on and on and on. And the event today really made me feel really good because I thought as a club how far we've come and how far we're going to go.
It's amazing, and that's one of the things I just want to leave with. When we do things like this, of course, it makes us feel nostalgic and it makes us look back at the past. But essentially, for me, it's we literally started with nothing.
Yeah.
We literally started with an idea. And then we go from idea to where we are today. And it's just we don't get here without you, all of you. We every single thing that we have done has all been because of you. And so essentially, I want to invite you back to campus, not only to honor you and recognize you, but to show you this is what you did. This is the legacy that you left, and that it is still in good hands, and that we still have as many wonderful people as part of the club as we did back when you guys were there. So listen, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I know I've already said a lot of mushy stuff today, so I don't want to belabor the point. But seriously, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. My career wouldn't be what it is. I wouldn't be who I am as a person. You all seriously have had that big of an influence on me over the years, and I am eternally grateful. So, Norm, thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure to get to see you. And every time I get out to the game, I know I got to come and talk to you for a few minutes.
And I apologize, Professor Miller, for the many invites that you've given me, like the baseball events that
You're a busy
you asked
man.
me. But I will try to make myself more available for some of your upcoming projects. But I want to thank you for not only inviting me, but giving my daughter, Aaliyah, who's by my side, a chance to see some of the things that her dad did, because I know being at the college as much as I was, took time away from her.
Sure.
So now she sees some of the things that I did
And the impact you had on others.
and the impact
Yeah.
that I had on students and people around me.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Norm. Yuli, of course, it's been a little while since I've gotten to see you, but for you to come back and really just see your legacy, it means the world. So I hope that you enjoyed yourself and your time here today.
Yeah, and we also met at your wife graduation.
Yes, that was the last time I
That
saw
was the
you.
last time
Well,
we saw you.
it wasn't just my wife's graduation; it was
was mine
yours.
too.
So don't take anything away from her. It was your. Yes, I ran into you at your graduation.
Yeah.
Yuli, you're the best. And again, that smile. I mean, I wish I could just bottle that up and just always have it on me at all times because I would never have a frown on my face.
Yeah.
So, and Sherri, of course, I do get to see you a little bit more. You're part of our advisory board. You're very involved with things going on campus. But gosh, you were such an instrumental part of everything that we've done. And I just am eternally grateful for everything that you've not only brought just to the Nightly News, but to the college and me personally.
Well, thank you very much. And, I appreciate the accolades of it wouldn't be here without us, but it wouldn't be here without you. So
Yes.
Well, I
don't forget
appreciate
that.
I also kind of get paid to do this. So.
Well, yeah, but your passion for it, it's uplifting. So
Yeah.
there we go.
Not
Thank
to
you.
everyone.
Oh, well, we love you, so it's okay.
To some, it's probably pretty annoying, but
Nah.
I still remember when you're so advocating for LinkedIn and being
Still
able
do.
to get a career
Still
and
do.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
we're
So,
doing
yeah.
that right now. I'm
And the
glad.
soup sales. Oh, my
Yes.
goodness. I used to love that. It would be me, Yuli, Sherri running through different classrooms.
Guess what? It's
and
coming up this
all
winter.
that.
It's a tradition. We still do the
Nice.
soup sale. So.
Still do the crab soup?
I was about to say.
Yep, every
All
year.
right, cool.
Every year. I'll keep you all posted.
Okay, thank you.
Well, this is just the first episode of Talking with our Hall of Famers. But again, I want to thank Norm Geary, Yuli Adejo, and Sherri Smith for spending not only just their time on the podcast here, but spending their afternoon here with us on Central Penn during Homecoming 23. Again, thank you all so much for being here, and it's just my pleasure to have you. And I hope it's not another 2 years till I see you again, but you will certainly always have a home here at Central Penn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. Stay tuned. We will be back with more Hall of Famers.